You are listening to Two Heels and a Face Wrestling Podcast, a podcast where we believe wrestling is a buffet and there's something there for everyone. Make sure you're following us on all social media such as Twitter, Instagram, Facebook under Two Heels and a Face. That's number 2 Heels and a Face. Make sure you check out our website, twoheelsandaface.com.
Era, 2 Heels and a Face.
Thanks for listening to this episode 2 in the Face Wrestling Podcast. On today's episode, we have a former pro wrestler, not current, former pro wrestler, but someone who, if you're a fan of Freelance Wrestling, if you're a fan of this podcast, you will know this person, I guess, unless you're, maybe not if you're a new fan, but if you've been a fan as long as we have, which is like around 2017-ish. I know this person also wrestled before that year, I'm sure. But that was our first impression of Mr. Roy Flash Gordon. Would you agree, Chris?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely. There's still, we'll talk about it, but there's still a match that we every so often will bring up, and it involves Mr. Roy Flash Gordon.
It's true. We should bring him in. Unless did you want to talk about your day? How's it going, or should we just?
We are good. We are here. We're look, Charlie. Let me just say this real quick before we bring in Roy. He's in the green room. He's waiting for us. But this is a Wrestling Buffet Line episode, and we haven't done one in a good minute.
Yes.
So it feels good to jump back into the Wrestling Buffet Line.
Absolutely. So if you're not familiar with the Wrestling Buffet Line, we'll say this now too. There's three sections. The salad bar, which is a little get to know you section. The main course, which is where we dive deep into something. And then the dessert is like for guilty pleasures and just like, oh, also this is going on, et cetera, et cetera. So that is what we're going to take Roy through. I hope he's hungry.
Let's get to it. Let's bring him in.
Roy, welcome.
Hey, what's good, fellas?
A little round of applause for you. That's right. Mr. Roy Flash Gordon. Roy, I want to say first, Roy had me on his podcast. We're going to get into what exactly that is as well. Very generous for doing so. We reconnected and met, I guess, for the first time at a Pokémon tournament in the park. And then Roy had me on, and I was like, wait a second. If you got one, you know that we have one. I'm sure Roy was familiar with us, so we had to have you on. So, Roy, thank you so much for your generosity and for joining and battling through a sickness. You're going through it right now.
I was going through something, right? Really glad that we got to, finally get this time. I was not going to let anything stop me from being on and getting you back to being on my podcast, which I really appreciated from you.
Yeah. So, Roy, we're going to jump right into the salad bar. Did you hear the introduction for the Wrestling Buffet Line?
I did. I'm ready to hop in. I'm hungry.
All right. So a salad bar usually starts with one question. I moved that question to the main course because the main course is going to be very wrestling focused and related. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we're going to skip the wrestling talk for a little bit. We're going to get to know you a little bit more and like what you're into currently. And kind of the reason why you're on this podcast is obviously to help promote you and all the cool stuff that you're doing. We usually ask the question, what do you love about wrestling? We're saving that question. The question I have to start off with you is, what do you love about Pokemon?
Yeah, so what I'm really finding that I love about Pokemon right now is I'm like engaging in the community with my current kind of pursuit with PokeMen's health is the amount of community that I'm finding as I'm going out to play in competitions locally and regionally and just meeting a ton of people. Which, kind of friendship was something that I was seeking out when I first went on my kind of men's health healing journey in the first place. And I find it pretty crazy for it to be coming back full circle to something I really enjoyed as a boy. And that helping me find friends now kind of in adulthood.
Great. So to recap what you said, I think community was the main thing, right? About not necessarily the game itself. And we'll get into people might be wondering why you asked starting with this question. Stick with us here. Stick with us. I promise it's going to make sense. But community is kind of what you've started playing. And you're playing competitively. I don't know if people realize that either, but you're playing in competitive competitions, which I think is really cool. and you've met community and started your own community. You have your own Discord as well that's associated with the podcast. So to recap, community is what you would say.
Yeah, community is really part of it.
And can I ask a question from, I guess a new Pokemon fan, right? Like, so I kind of touched back on Pokemon probably earlier last year due to my daughter. My daughter's 8. She started playing Pokemon Go. And I know I signed up for the app when it came out, like Pokemon Go, the app itself. So I kind of joined back on and we've been, playing and we, go on these community days, right? They call them community days. So you go and catch certain type of Pokemon and things like that. That's the level of Pokemon that I'm at, Pokemon Go. But you're talking about like battles and stuff. Like, what is the platform? Is it on your phone? I have no idea. Is it part of that Pokemon Go? No, completely different.
Oh, different. Now, there is a Pokemon Go at the regional tournament. Like, they're trying to get Pokemon Go is like what they're like trying to focus on and grow, getting at a stronger competitive scene, because when there's a strong competitive scene, the games seem to do well and whatnot. But I'm talking about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which are like the most recent main series game, which is on Nintendo Switch. And the competition is what we call VGC, so Video Game Championship. The format we play in, which is double. So we like traditionally grew up watching the show. Most battles were 1-on-1. We play double, so 2-on-2 in VGC. And I'm just kind of traveling around doing the circuit at the moment.
Does that answer your question, you noob?
I'm joking. For sure. I'm enlightened. I just know that from time to time I'm paying for Pokemon cards. I don't know how to play Pokemon cards, but my daughter's collecting them. But yeah, that I'm like the only thing I join her with is those community days on Pokemon Go. So
it's beautiful. That's beautiful. And be surprised like the family experiences that I've already seen. I've only just been doing this for a year. Like at this last local tournament, there's this old woman. Don't even just call her old woman, but she's like I don't know, 60s, late 60s, maybe
elderly,
who's on the circuit. I've seen her like in Milwaukee. I've seen her in Peoria. I've seen her at the local tournaments. And in one of the last local tournaments, she was there with her son. He's probably like 20 something, and like she's like not bad, but he's like really good. And I'm just like, yo, he grew up playing this game, and she probably like got interested in it because of like what they got to that time they got to spend together, or helping him get good, or giving him someone to play against, just because of the relationship they have, and like, bro, that's like the dream right there, man.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's timeless. Like they keep reinventing it. They keep coming out with new generations. People can still keep playing it. No, it's really cool. It's cool that we have that shared interest that was kind of random and out of nowhere. It's really cool. And it's cool that Itzel is kind of getting it in any way, shape, or form. I'm not shaming goers. I'm not shaming Pokemon goers or car. I did car collecting. I made my mom drive to fucking Heroes Trading Cards in fucking Berwyn, Illinois, and I made her buy me some $50, $60 fucking Japanese Arcanine. Who knows where that card is right now?
I was going to ask you, do you know where that
is? Well, so I had it. My house flooded, and I lost like all my all my cards got wet. They were like buried in the basement, so it's not like I was like using them. But this is like more present days. But no, like any what I'm trying to say is any way to just appreciate and enjoy it, I think is really cool. So it sounds like you're encouraging that, Chris.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's days that we all just get in the minivan and we drive out to different towns and just go to like their downtown areas and catch Pokemon, right? So
I love that.
It's cool, and then it's cool to see, right? Like that there's other people also, and then you end up just like bumping into people that are doing the same thing. So again, back to community, right? So
the nerds got to go outside and touch grass a little bit for sure. Okay, going into now PokeMen's health. So you've taken this newfound love for Pokemon, and then and also a desire to improve men's mental health as well, and you've combined them into this podcast. So explain to me the podcast so people know, and then what inspired you to do it and how it's going.
Yeah. So the PokeMen's Health podcast is essentially me speaking with members of the Pokemon community. One about just their love of Pokemon, how it kind of came into their lives and what they've gotten out of it. But also then their kind of thoughts on masculinity, ways that it may need to change, or how they kind of landed on their ideas around masculinity, as well as sharing any mental health things that they may be going through. And I've done that primarily with other Pokemon VGC competitors, but kind of branching out to, the more casual people. Charley, if we can kind of fall under that kind of veil, like kind of, into it, but on a more casual thing, we're kind of getting into the competitive side. I talked to the Pokemon Unite guy. We got some TCG guys I want to chat with at some point. So just just more and more from the Pokemon community to discuss some of these topics that I think we all as men would benefit from just discussing, as I just believe there's a lot more we can do in the world, considering a lot of harm that we've caused in the world. And a lot of that is, just a matter of, having better mental health, even asking for help in the first place, talking about what's really going on with you, being aware of your trauma and whatnot. And I decided to take all that and bring it to the Pokemon community, because it was something that, I get to a point in my life where I'm just looking around, and I know, we can separate the things. As a kind of men's coach, working with men to essentially empower themselves further, but also be more aware around their mental health and how they are living as a man. Doing that is just like a general thing, and it was fine. I was having a good time with it, and I just wanted something more. I wanted to do something more unique, and bringing it to the Pokemon community seemed like a no-brainer. So they do, see, there's just so many different types of men, and there's so many different ways you can reach people. I thought, hey, a lot of us are, in these gaming communities, for community, for friendship, for support, even in ways that we're not really able to articulate. So I thought, entering a gaming community that I was already interested in diving deeper and really making part of my life, why not kind of bring that kind of thinking and healing to such a community?
Yeah, I think when I was on your show, I was surprised about how the two things can be related a little bit. And really don't think about it, but I think playing a game can be healthy, but there's toxic sides to it. But it's also you're talking to people that compete as well. So anytime you're a competitor, it's a mental game, and having your mentals in great shape is really part of it. No matter whether you're in the NFL or whether you're playing competitive Pokemon in the park in Chicago, you got to have your mental straight. So yeah, there is a lot of crossover amongst those two topics. And I think when I was on, we talked about life balance, we talked about self-awareness, we talked about a lot of things like that. So your podcast is a lot like that, and yeah, you've been having these gamers on, some more hardcore than others, but I think they're all dudes. They all go through similar thought processes, and not everyone has the support that you're giving them. And not all of them have been to therapy. Some have, some haven't. And yeah, it's a really good listen, a really good outlet. So yeah, I think you'd be surprised how much crossover there is kind of the summary of that. Totally. I've been having a blast with it. It's been pretty well received. So I stream on Twitch and whatnot, and I think that's kind of the main piece of the business, or my main piece of content that I guess is out there, and how I'm connecting with that. And I just kind of get more and more validation that guys are interested in such a community, and just really being curious about it. So I think I'm at a really good spot to be building the audience that I'm building, and just excited to keep it rolling. What are in making a podcast? What are some pros and cons You're going talk to because we know, right? And making a podcast, but like, how is just the production of a podcast been for you?
Dude, so I had this is I will call it my second podcast.
Okay.
My podcast was it's called Main Event Man, and it was like kind of a nod to my pro wrestling career, and so the same kind of theme of what I was trying to bring to men, and it was fine, but it got really hard because I did not. I guess I was trying to make the content every single week, and it was just me. Man, that fucking sucked. It was so bad.
Yep.
So hard. And by I think I maybe got that to 10 or 12 episodes, something like that. By the time it was like, I can't keep doing this. I'm taking a break, season 2, whatever. I come back to season. Basically, the same thing happens, though. I get the trick is let me be talking to somebody, and that kind of content is easier to create. So did that, and this is why that's what I'm doing with PokeMen's Health. I after doing it by myself the first time, I was like, I'm never doing that again, 100%. So kind of getting the kind of interview format going, and that's been going super well. And still, I just know that I want to edit as little as possible, which I do, but there's still little bits and pieces like I got to put on the intro, I got to do a little something on the outro, I got to put whatever the fuck together. And even that stuff just is so tedious to me. I don't want to spend a single second doing it. That is my probably biggest con, having to do any editing. Now that I kind of have the kind of content that just kind of is so easy to come up with, the start to finish, but the meat of it is the conversation piece, and that feels automatic and easy and fun. And really the connection that I'm getting through those conversations, that's probably the biggest pro.
So wait, your first one was just you narrating every episode? You obviously talking about your experiences, but it was just you weren't talking to anyone?
Yep, me not talking to anyone.
I
come up with a story, a learning with a story supporting it, and just go. And it was fine, and I can do it, but that shit is exhausting. It's exhausting. You can't do that for every episode.
And I'm
sure the editing was had to be more laborious than when you're having a conversation with somebody.
Good word.
That just flows.
Totally, that just flows. And that was back when I super on perfectionist bullshit, which I could give it now. I don't edit any of the ums or ahs out on my podcast, and I think I'm gonna leave it that way. But back then I was it has to be perfect. Everything needs to be perfect, and that definitely contributed to the pressure of trying to keep it up.
Yeah, I think 12 or so. I think I had that other podcast, right? It was called The Starter Log, Chris. It was about mental health. It was about a lot of things, but it was around motivation and mental health. I don't know if we used the term mental health a lot back then, but it was motivation, inspiration, et cetera, et cetera. I think that maybe made it to 2022, but I still think 12 for a first round is a solid round, because that is the hardest part, I think, when people start, is to keep it going. And I think you've realized got a good formula now, and you were recording early before they started coming out, so you're getting ahead on that work. So you could give yourself a little bit of a break later. But yeah, I mean, I think that's credit to you for getting 12 episodes where no one is talking to you, because I need Chris to answer to me. Otherwise I feel like nothing's hitting, things like that.
Well, that's funny enough. I think I shared this with you, Charlie, before. I actually heard this from Cole Cabana. He talked about, he had this, art of wrestling for so many years, but he talked about the commitment to a podcast, right? If you were consistently able to put out content for 12 episodes, that was okay, you're committed and you're onto something, right? So 12 episodes to me, in other side projects that I've started, podcasting or whatever, 12 episodes is all right, am I really committed to this or not?
That's the benchmark, huh?
That's the benchmark, right? When somebody throws an idea, let's do a podcast, I'm all right, we can record, but 12 episodes, and then after that,
you got to give me 12, brother.
Consistent, yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's not easy for sure, especially if you don't have a sounding board, right? Nobody that's talking back to you. So props for that.
Yeah,
And
credit.
just to kind of go back to PokeMen's health, you talk about community and the conversations that you're having, and what I think what is very cool to me for the episodes that I've listened is that you're just providing the outlet. You're providing the channel for people to have those conversations that normally you wouldn't have otherwise for some people. So just that it's a dedicated platform where people come in and they have that conversation. It feels so natural to talk about certain things that might not feel so natural to talk about.
True.
So
Yeah,
so yeah, props to you on that.
Safe space. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, thanks for that. And that's what I think the benefit of it is. It's like they get to have space held for them. And then it's like the example is, and I think the value is the fact that the conversation's happening. And if you're a listener, you get to see that conversation happening. You get to see yourself in them possibly. And you get to see that, possibly, the release they get from just talking about it. Or at the very least, you get to see that you're not alone in what it is you're facing. And there are, options. Because often you guys are also talking about what they've done to feel better. And I think, sharing those practices is everything.
Absolutely. Okay. To round out do you have something, Chris? Sorry.
Yep, I was gonna say I think we will kind of wrap up the salad bar, and usually how we wrap up the salad bar is by asking you, in this case, Roy, what is your favorite part of an actual salad?
I don't really fuck with salad, if I'm being honest.
What? Aren't you into fitness?
I was gonna say that, but yeah.
Say that again.
I like my vegetables like hot, like it cooked,
Like asparagus or something.
Yeah, like asparagus or Brussels sprouts or like spinach, things that go in salads, but like cooked.
We're cooked. Okay. All right. That is a unique answer. Have we ever had that answer, Chris? I don't think we have.
Veggies, no.
Steamed veggies is the answer. Steamed veggies. All right. Cool. Informative salad bar. PokeMen's health. Just to say it one more time. Check it out, please. Even if you don't like Pokemon, it's still really great. If you're a gamer, really, honestly, and a man, it'll be perfect. The main course, the hot plate. You mentioned wrestling, your wrestling podcast, Main Event Man. Let's get into some wrestling. So this is the question we usually ask. I know we asked, what do you love about Pokemon? But the question we usually ask, the first question that we usually ask is, what do you love about wrestling? So we're going to ask that question to you.
What I love about wrestling, I think there will always just be like a grandiosity or something that like just like you see a motherfucker at the stage of WrestleMania, like there's just something about that, like that energy, and that those images could make me feel the way that they made me feel, like as a kid, and like wanting to like, man, I wish I could be that cool. I wish I could be that important,
Yeah.
Like that, like that's like just dream fuel, that's like dream fuel. You know what I mean? And it certainly did something to me, given that fuel, like that shit inspired me. And I think just wrestling is inherently inspirational, the stories that we see, and probably some of the biggest moments that we all have a big moment when that person, that hero, like prevailed over evil, in times of like great, like, challenge, had to persevere, had to overcome. I think just that inspiration, definitely created something to me that I appreciate. I always love wrestling for.
Yeah, that's great. When did because I don't know, I don't necessarily know, because I think you were already wrestling by the time I got into the indie scene. So I don't necessarily know like what schools or anything was around, but where was like your first footing? Like where did you train, or where was like some of the earlier like promotions you were like getting yourselves into when you started wrestling?
Old CSW, baby.
There you go. Okay. I figured it might be that.
Yeah. I started in 2014, I think, late 2014, or early 15. But yeah,
Okay.
my first was that's where I met Tony. We were about maybe I started, and he came maybe a month or two later. And one day they stuck us in a tag team match, and they're like, "You guys are together forever now." That's just kind of how it goes. W Fusion.
So that's my earliest memory of you, and I know we talked about this on your show too, is superiority complex, which is like where did that name come from? Do you know how that came about?
Oh yes. I don't know how we. God, it's embarrassing to talk about. I don't know how we were our original tag team. We just needed something, and one of us blurted out "Hot Girls Heroes," which was our first tag team. So, and we just wanted to make something fit HGH, so we could put HGH on our trunks and put a little power symbol as our little logo for on, and just like we were just trolling when we were HGH. And at some point, someone was like, "You guys gotta like get rid of it. Like, no one's gonna take you seriously if you guys keep rolling with that." And like, I started to think of things, and like we like always wanted to be the heels. We could not stand wrestling babyface from the get go. Like we both liked being baby faces, but like especially as a tag team, we just wanted to be the assholes. Which kind of like, I don't know, people kind of treated us like that, like anyway, just because it felt like it was like, oh, these bigger guys coming on the indie kind of stuff. So we're just like, cool, let's lean into it. Like, I like heel shit, you like heel shit, and I was just like superiority complex, and I wanted us to do it because we could say we were simply superior, and have that play on words with the simply and the complex. And that's just kind of like was what made it up. We just knew we wanted to be heels, we wanted to be insufferable, and kind of rock with it.
I think you guys had a really good look for that. I think you guys had a really good heelish look, because I think both of you guys are really good people from my experiences with you, like Tony as well, who we've had. We interviewed Tony and Thunder Rosa in person. Actually, that's an episode. That's right. People forget about that. I forget about that one sometimes, but that was a fun episode. And Tony is actually like a really good dude in person. But like, yeah, I think
he has a hateable face, so it helped out.
I think looking at you guys, people could make judgments without knowing you. You had that like look, like, oh, look at these. And once again, your size, you're bigger, you're taller than a lot of the roster. You were skinnier but still like jacked, I remember, and Tony was a little broader. So you had the fitness and you had the look. So heel tag team made sense. And is that you did some single stuff though in other places though, but it was mostly that was your first thing was the heel team?
I guess I was always so back then Anarchy Pro Wrestling. Okay. Yeah, I think that was happening. That was where I was doing my first single stuff. Tony didn't really like coming through there. I forget why, but I just kind of like did my singles thing there, which is good to be doing both for me, but mostly focusing on the tag team for most of the time. We eventually did a tour in Canada, and and he needed to leave partway through, so I finished out like singles, and they really liked me as a singles wrestler at that point. So whenever I went back to Canada, I was generally by myself wrestling singles, and really kind of did most of that up there.
Nice. What were some of your like earliest memories of those, of the freelance LSA shows? That I know you guys held the belts there, I believe. What were some of your earliest memories of that? Because I remember, the crowd booing you a lot.
Very first memory of Freelance was at the Abbey, where they called us one day, like maybe even day of, and we're like, we need a tag team. We fought the Viking, whatever. Well, do you guys remember that team?
Yes.
Like the raiding party, maybe.
I think so. Oh, didn't one of them wrestle barefoot, maybe, or no?
Yeah. One of them wrestled barefoot. Parnell, his name was the little Viking. Either way, we had a fucking blast doing that match in the Abbey. I think there was only a few shows left in the Abbey before the fire that stopped them running there. So that was like number one first Freelance memory. Awesome picture of doing a springboard fucking insecurity deal on the bigger Viking, who just like from the angle it looks like his hair is just like very draping and kind of looks like I'm hitting an old lady, and I so much, so much.
Viking
Amazing.
Raiders.
You're thinking of, is it Viking War Party?
Yes.
Viking War Party.
Viking War Party. Yes.
There we go.
You're thinking of that actual tag team that's on the WWE roster right now, aren't you?
Well, the name went there, but what I was seeing was somebody else. Okay.
Yes.
Viking right now. So hot right now. So.
Okay. Oh, I think Jake Parnell Warhorse might have been in it or around it at some point.
Warhorse.
Yeah.
He's in it.
Okay. Cool. All right. Yes, I'm looking at him. Oh, I see the guy with the really long hair. Okay. Cool. Perfect.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Oh, to stick with the theme of wrestling, we're reminiscing here. So if older Freelance fans, you'll love this. But the Church Street cage. Cage.
That was wild.
Okay, so let me take you back. I don't even know what year this was. Let me take you back though. Church Street Brewery, Freelance Underground show. Roy and Tony are split. Tony is now Mr. Stay Down, I believe. That was his Mr. Stay Down. He had the SmackDown shorts. Like it was like the old SmackDown logo. You guys are in a feud. It builds to a cage match, right? At Church Street. This is before the renovations have happened. I know people haven't been there in a bit. I haven't. We're not. Freelance isn't still running there. But they go to set up the cage, and the cage isn't fitting properly around the ring. So the way that James has told the story is that Tony was not happy that this is happening. Tony was freaking out. He goes, Roy is Mr. Cool. Roy is just like, yeah, whatever. Like, just get it up. We'll do whatever we can with it. This is like, it feels like 30, 45 minutes have gone by. They're trying to get this cage. It's like on the ring, but it's not fitting to the point where like the side, like the corners are connecting. The corners of the cage aren't connecting. So you could I know the point of a cage match is to either pin, submit, or leave the cage. Like if you guys wanted to do the leave the cage, you probably could have just went sideways and squeaked out the corners. But while this is happening, the crowd is still drinking, right, Chris? Like we're in the crowd.
Of course.
we're just drinking now. And it's a brewery. They want us to drink their beer. That's the whole point of it. That's how they make money. And now the match is going on. You guys still have an absolutely banger, hell of a match. It was fantastic. It ended with like a big spot off of the turnbuckle, like a power bomb spot, I remember. And it was still a phenomenal match, but the crowd is like restless throughout the whole match. And I can't stop laughing at the situation. I'm rooting for you guys really hard. And that was an amazing match. Like I said, still you made it through the adversity, and you still even though the ring situation was shitty, you made it a great match. But what a memory. And we will always bring that up to James. We randomly was what about another cage match? And he's instantly triggered. So I need you to take me through your memory of that night.
Oh yeah. No, dude. Well, first off, I got to that match hurt. I pulled a glute muscle, or it was just about to pull, and it pulled during the match. And that was really fucking rough. I get there and I'm like, this feels like I might actually hurt myself. Oh man, that was a rough weekend because I was supposed to wrestle an ROH dude. Well, who the hell was? I don't even remember the fucking guy. He was more of a manager, kind of flamboyant. I was supposed to wrestle him the next day, but I couldn't because I fucking tore my fucking butt muscle. But I get there, I'm hurt, I'm warming up, and just worried as fuck about that. but could give two shits about the cage. I'm like, yo, we're getting in there and we're doing everything we said we're gonna do, and it's gonna be a blast. So just like super excited to do the match, but like kind of pissed off about how long everything was taking. We hear that the cage, like they can't put it together or whatever, and I'm just like, we just called an entire match to be in the motherfucking cage. Well, what are we gonna do? You know what I mean? We're just like, yo, no, we're not thinking about that. We're just gonna call this match, and if there's for some reason not a case, I'm gonna go and walk and talk and figure it the fuck out, and this is gonna be okay. So like, I was definitely Mr. Cool. I thought Tony was cool, but sometimes Tony likes to, you know, downplay things. You know, but it was fine. It was fine. By the time we were in there, it was definitely just like showtime, like any other match. I love wrestling Tony. Like just we could do that under any circumstances, you know. And whether or not the case is going to go up, or whether or not there was going to be a door on the fucking thing, we can make it work and you know, make a good time out of it. So I don't remember being too worried about the cage itself. I was more worried about like if I was going to make it through that match safely, and knowing Tony would take care of me. But it was, you know, I ran. I went and hit the ropes, and that's when it happened. So it was just probably needing to not wrestle that night. Yeah, but that definitely vivid memory of that. But other than that, it was just like super mostly charged, like having Doug being the referee, like who was like legit, you know, one of our best friends in wrestling. Like that was crazy fun. And I was very excited to, you know, have a spot where I was going to jump off the fucking cage and see, like, it was like, if I do this, that's good. I'm good. I can leave wrestling a happy man and, you know, have had some adventures, you know. That I was like, at all costs, I need to jump off that motherfucking thing. We got to make it happen. But yeah. Those are memories. Also was not scared to take the powerbomb spot off the corner. I was more concerned with getting Tony back. I'm like, yeah, he just caught me off that big thing. Let's make him look like a fucking beast real quick, you know? And no, he always take care of me on the way down. So that was fun, really fun time. After was not so fun. Like pain starting to set in. And I don't remember who it was. I'm almost sure it was Thunder Rosa giving me an edible to like help with the pain. And at the time, I don't even know if I smoked weed yet. I was like a big like straight edge person until I was about 28. And she said it was a CBD gummy. I'm just like, okay, CBD helps with pain. Cool, that's great. But it was not just CBD, and I was like so blasted. I was like the next day. And my girlfriend at the time like had to drive me home, which she wasn't planning on, so she was annoyed. And I'm just like an asshole, like just I'm so in pain, and I'm high, and I didn't expect it, and it was wild, dude. It was a wild night because of that. It was a super memorable night. I will never forget all the stuff that went down, but yeah, it was an interesting one.
You just made that story so much better. You just made that story so good. Great. It was a night we'll never forget, and I continue any chance I get to reminisce with you or like bring it up to James. I will always do that. It was because it's just never done, right, Chris? Like cage matches, like it was there was an ego versus ego one, right? At Freelance.
You're cutting off there, Charlie.
Am I?
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. I my point is cage matches are rare. That's my point. So James went bold with it, and it ended up being memorable in more ways. That's just really cool about it. Any other memories or like favorite matches you had wrestling before we get out of the main course, or what are like some of your highlights that you still reminisce on?
Well, thinking about Freelance was a rivalry with the N-words, and the blow off match. I don't remember if we had a like no DQ or something, but we definitely used some shit in that match, and that's one that I would like. It's kind of fuzzy, the events of that match, but I'll never forget how I felt in that shit. Like, we were absolute villains from the get go. The N words were like on fucking fire, and we beat each other's asses. Like, it was just such a fun time. I took whatever the hell their finisher was, like some sort of curb stompy, like sidewalk slam onto a chair. The only time I ever onto a chair. Like, I feel the wind blown out of me still, but that shit was fucking electric. Like, it's so fun. The entrance of that match was so fun. I'm pretty sure like we were doing our thing and they like jumped us after. I really made it like clear, like, hey, jump us during our entrance, but we got to do the cool part first. Which is what we did our little pose off the side. Just make sure we get the cool part in, and then do whatever the fuck you got to do. And it was just such a fun time. I love Bryce and Jazz like forever for all the matches that they did it with us, because they both of them super skilled and been in the business such a long time. Just always wanting to work with us, take care of us, and like let us like do our shit. Like they'll go, but they aren't like super like full of piss and vinegar like we were at the time. But like they let us get our shit in and whatnot, and and bring that shit too. It was just super fun time. So that match, I don't remember what event it was. It could have been Freelance versus the World or some shit. But it was a really fun time, that one.
Yeah, that tag team division then I feel like was so deep. There was a time, that might have been around that time, but there was a time where the Freelance tag team division was very, very deep. And I think that might have been around that time, because I remember the N-words having the one to bring up on the volume this year, Chris, if we don't have a guest or anything like that, but that'd be one to revisit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I just think about, for me, when I think of Flash Gordon, I think Freelance Underground. I think that's where you kind of had more of a dominant role, whether that was with Tony or even single matches. I could definitely associate you with Underground, but for sure, like there was an era in Freelance itself where the tag team division was pretty stacked, and you guys were part of that. So
yeah.
Good time.
Before we get out of the main course, what is your favorite entree?
My favorite entree? Ooh. I love a good meatloaf. Like,
okay.
Meatloaf with some mashed potatoes, and then one of those like asparagus, Brussels sprouts, other vegetables we talked about earlier. And we're good. Like, that'll be, I call that an entree.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that was good. Chris, the dessert.
I mean, these are just moving away from wrestling, and we definitely talked about your podcast, PokeMen's Health. What other interests do you have? Like, what are other things that you enjoy doing?
Oh man, like right now, like it's so funny people ask that, and I would say video games. But now all I play is Pokemon, and now it like has this like tie to the business. But I really am super committed to getting better at that. And what I might pick up video game wise when I need a break is more than likely just going to be a different Pokemon game. But I also really enjoy playing Skyrim on the Switch.
Hell yeah!
Skyrim back in I think I played it on Xbox 360, so reliving those fun times. And then it's like outside of my day job, which is as a fitness coach, and then this like quote unquote night job, I'm mostly like trying to work on the business. I also like to watch anime. I just got up to date on JJK. Which is super fun. If you guys watch any anime, do you guys watch any anime?
No, I don't. That is something I feel like people keep nudging me towards, and I'm not like. I feel like I'm maybe a couple I don't know, a couple free time pockets away from maybe checking something out. But I know that goes very deep in all, like, so many shows, and there's like 8 seasons per show and things like that. So
totally.
yeah, you're full. Your schedule's full. I don't know how you had time for us.
Wonderful. I do love to, when I can hang with my nieces, like that's like something I'm definitely doing my best to try to prioritize a little bit more, as well as I mentioned the fitness job. I got to try to stay up with my fitness as well. I don't know if I'm near wrestling shape right now, but trying to not let it fall completely apart.
Yeah. I'm sure. I think like wrestlers say, right, like you got to get in like bump shape almost, where it's like you're used to hitting the mat. So I trust that if you ever want to come back, you can get there. So if there's ever a return on the horizon, we'll be in your corner for that. The last thing that we think we have is word association, right, Chris?
That's correct. And for word association, we have 10 words. Charlie's going to help me with number 6. I have no idea what that says.
It's a Pokemon.
You will help me there. But basically, word association, the rules are I'll say a word to you, and then you just have a one-word reply back. The first thing that comes to mind. All right?
Got it.
All right. So we'll start off with word number 1. Pro wrestling.
Sucks.
What was that? Sucks?
That angle, dude. I swear. Good.
Pokemon.
Tony Nas.
Evil.
Mental health.
Important.
Yep.
Red Mohawks.
Awesome.
Hell yeah. Oh, is this my turn? Grim Snarl.
Beautiful.
It's Pokemon.
7. Freelance wrestling.
Awesome.
8. Cage match.
Fun.
9. Chilean fisherman.
Hamburger?
10. PokeMen's Health podcast.
The best. Oh, best.
Best. There you go. Yeah. No, you saved it. You saved it at the end. Yeah, that was good. I think you truly said for.
Oh, we're losing you there, Charlie.
Oh, am I back?
You are back.
Okay. Where did the Chilean fishermen come from? I know, first of all, I want to say, Roy, we usually stalk our guests a little bit, and then Chris and I will add in stuff. I did not add that one in, Chris. What was that one?
So if I'm not mistaken, that's when you made an appearance at a Raw. Along Pat Monix and some others, but I remember you and Pat for that one. And you were introduced as the Chilean fisherman.
Chilean sea bass.
Oh, okay. Sea bass. Okay. So what was the one word hamburger for?
I just went to food, and I think it was more like the sea bass would be the meat inside the bread. And I don't know if that's a thing that you do, but that's just where my head was.
Okay.
Roy gave when people do this, they'll usually pause a couple seconds, and then Roy literally gave us the first word. He did what he did what was asked. He knew the assignment, Chris.
I was going for it. Flash, baby.
Flash answers. Yeah.
I love it. And then favorite dessert.
Favorite dessert? Ooh. Damn, man. I think I'm gonna say Kit Kat bar. The big cats, the thick ones.
Give
me a break.
Good. Yeah.
Roy, how did you enjoy the wrestling buffet line?
Oh, it's good. It's good. I love the structure. It's beautiful. It's perfect. I love the food stuff to close it out. It's beautiful. It's delicious. 5 stars.
fighting a little technical difficulties. We started off rough, but we really ramped up when we started talking about the things that you love. And
The
then
people will never know.
The people will know. Chris is going to work as much of his magic as he can.
I can't do much magic with that type of technical difficulties on Charlie's end.
Yeah, that's all good.
I'm sorry. That's my fault. But that's why I have a Chris. You need to get yourself a Chris, maybe.
Yeah, get a Chris. Get a Chris. Everyone.
Awesome. Right. Roy, before we close things out, please plug the podcast, social media handles, anything you want people to follow you. Like I said, I think just, from my personal opinion and listening to your episodes, I think that it's important that, you have created a safe space for others to share and talk about important things along with some fun stuff and hobbies. So, thank you for providing that space. And then go ahead, take it away.
Absolutely. And yeah, that's what it is. PokeMen's Health, just a space for guys in the Pokemon community, but also gaming communities, anime communities. I think all, very adjacent with the type of people that are there. I think there's men in the world who are feeling isolated, lonely, and need some support amongst lots of other different people who are also in those boats. But I think coming together as guys in these communities, we can just relate on a level that I think is very necessary for all of us to kind of get through a lot of the stuff that, life has kind of left us with. So if you want to find support in a community like that, fellow gaming fans, fellow Pokemon fans, PokeMen's Health is the place for you. Again, that podcast, everywhere you listen to podcasts, that's the title, PokeMen's Health. And then, again, PokeMen's Health, all one word, on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, as well as the Twitch channel. Come through in whatever method you like.
All right.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for spending some of your time with us, and I hope you feel better. Thank you for jumping on while sick. But definitely this was a long time coming, and I'm glad we were able to put this together. And yeah, well, we'll definitely catch up at some point in the near future, hopefully, and definitely keep playing Pokemon.
Well, yeah. Thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Ray.